Hi there, Stuart McMillan here, coming to you from the National Museum of Australia. I just wanted to let you know what I've been working on for the last 12 months and what you can expect from me in 2021. So the long story short is you can expect two major projects from me this year. The first is my Notel project, and the second is a new project called Basic Income Comics. So now the cat's out of the bag, I'll tell you a little more about both of those projects. So the first project, Notel, this is a real-life scenario that happened in the 1970s where psychologists learned that there was a town that didn't get TV reception 21 years after the rest of the country. And they realized that they were about to build a TV transmission tower next to this town, and so they thought that they needed to get in before this was done because it was their last chance to ever understand the impact of television on a community. So this comic will be profiling the work of Professor Tannis MacBeth. And if you're thinking to yourself, this sounds familiar, it's because I've been talking about this project for quite a long time. Back in 2017, I actually published a short excerpt, an introduction to this comic, and I told everyone, wait until after New Year's, I'll do part 2 in 2018. But obviously what happened is I got sidetracked with other projects. I let this one slip, but I had enough readers contact me saying that they wanted to know more about the Notel comic and what happened in the town. So I decided to do a good job. The first time I imagined this project, I thought it would be much shorter than it is, but this is actually going to be the longest comic that I've ever published. This will be a 300-page reading experience. I've completely redone part 1, the introduction. I've expanded that, and I'm in the process of drawing part 2. I'll be releasing both of those at the same time as 200 pages of material for you to read all at once. And then after those 2 sections are out, I'll then begin working on part 3. So you can expect something from that in April or May this year. And I think this will be one of my highlights as a career. Now, the new project that I've been working on recently is called Basic Income Comics. So this is all about the topic of universal basic income. And I guess I'm going to be doing the classic Stuart McMillan approach to comics, where I'll be actually talking about this with real life case studies of how UBI has been trialed in the past. So the first case study that I'll be doing is about Mincome Manitoba and Professor Evelyn Forget. And this is a bit similar to the Notel project. This is set in Canada during the 1970s, where real life people in towns in Manitoba were actually given guaranteed annual incomes and tracked for 3 years. So my comic will actually be telling the story of what happened in this scenario. And when I finish with the Mincome Manitoba scenario, I'll be covering other universal basic income case studies. So one thing that's going to be different about Basic Income Comics is this will be hosted on a standalone website that I'm in the process of developing with 3 team members. And this will actually be using an infinite canvas comics process. Now you can see a demo of how this works on the screen right now, but what we'll be doing is as a creator, I'll have the ability to have more control over the way that it pans left, right, up and down, and also zooms and other things like this that'll make it a more immersive comics reading experience that hopefully will make people engage with this a little more. And it's been very interesting creating artwork for this process and bouncing it backwards and forwards between the developers, because it's almost like every time I draw some artwork, the developers have to respond to that, and then whenever I see what they've done, I have to respond to that with my artwork. So that's part of the reason why it's been taking me a little while to publish things recently. So those are the 2 major projects that you can expect from me this year. I've been working on them simultaneously, and I think they'll actually both be coming out around about the same time in April or May this year. And then of course, once Basic Income Comics is up and running, I'll be releasing different chapters of that on an ongoing basis. So I just wanted to thank in particular all of my crowdfunding supporters who've been hanging on for the last 12 months, funding me to do this work quietly. It's all going to come to fruition very soon, where you'll just have hundreds of pages of artwork to read all at once. And I just wanted to encourage anyone who's watching this video who's not yet my crowdfunding supporter to please get on board. Obviously the pandemic's been really hard for a lot of artists, and if you value my work or if you value me as a social commentator, any donation that you can give, whether it's big or small, will help me to do this work in my art studio on an ongoing basis. And just one more piece of news about Patreon is they've finally expanded to other currencies beyond US dollars. So Canadian dollars, Australian dollars, euros, different currencies are now supported by Patreon. So if that's been something that's been holding you back in the past, please get on board and make a pledge. But whether you pledge or not, it's a pleasure to do this work, and I look forward to sharing Basic Income Comics and Notel with you a little bit later in 2021.